Hello, hello, and welcome to Introduction to LTSpice. So, the first question would be, what is LTSpice? LTSpice is a simulation program for electronics from Linear Technologies. Currently, LTSpice is owned by Analog Devices, and SPICE stands for Simulation Program with Integrated Circuit Emphasis. So, it was designed to simulate all the intricates in ICs, and that is to make life simpler in the design process. So, what is the purpose of LTSpice? Purpose of LT is to construct any circuit that you have designed by hand and do some simulations, transients, ACs, DCs, anything you like to see if the circuit functions properly before you go and build it and test it in the laboratory. And this is also to see if it works, if you should tweak any components, and the limitations of your circuits. So the functions and features of LTSpice is obviously the simulations that you can do, AC sweep, DC sweep, transient, and in this video series we will go and have a look at all the simulations that you will use in my class, and which is handy for electronics in general. Okay, so what we'll be doing in this first video. So first we will go and have a look at how to download and install LTSpice, then all the buttons inside the software, the settings, some tips and tricks, especially when doing reporting. There is some stuff that you can set to make it less harsh on the eyes and better for your printer, especially with people that uses screenshots. And we will do your first schematic. So let's get started. So to install LTSpice, you can either use the link that I provided on my Twitter or quickly do a search in Google. LTSpice, you can click here, find the one from analog.com or analog devices. There is older versions available on the internet for older PCs, and they have tutorial videos that you can watch. There's a lot of good information out there on LT, and I'm using a Windows 10 machine, so I'm going to click here and we can wait a couple of minutes for this download to finish. Alright, the download finished. Let's click on this and provide the necessary permissions. Yes, install. Read through the license agreement, but everybody always just click accept. You can select the type of PC that you're working on, 64-bit, 32-bit, whatever. You can select the path where you want to install the software, and if everything is okay and whatnot, you can just click install now and it will do its thing. And we are done. Just quickly like that, for a 41 meg download, couple of seconds for install, and LTSpice is entirely free for use. And we are finished. We'll download some library contents, and there we go. LTSpice is up and running. So let's go over the buttons. The first button here that you'll find is to create a new schematic. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new schematic since most of these buttons are blocked out until I do that. So we have a new schematic up. So first one is if you need to open files, save files. This one here is the control panel to change settings and colors and all of those things. We will jump into that a bit later. Here we have a running man. It's to run a simulation. So to set up a simulation, you can just click there and it will open a window. We will come back to this in a later video. So the three types that we are most interested is transient, AC analysis, and DC sweep. Go and close that. If you run a simulation and it's not converging, you can always press the halt button, or if you realize you made a mistake, you can halt and stop it using the halt button. You have the zooming tools here. You can either use them, or let's just pick a component, or you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. You can also just pan around by clicking and dragging on the screen. So yeah, that's plain and simple. Here is some windowing options and stuff. Not really gonna go into this. Then you can cut components, you can copy components, you can even search for components if this is a very large schematic. You can search stuff. Also, if you're zoomed out, you can just hit spacebar and it will zoom the whole schematic into view. Menus. Control C, Control V, Control S. Most of the Windows shortcuts do work in LTSpice, so you can go ahead and try those. Here you have some printing setups, but most people will copy the schematic and use something in Paint or whatnot and put it over in there. However, if you go into the print setup, or if you want to print, it typically gives out a white background and not like the simulations which has a black background or whatnot. It will actually make it a bit more visible. But we will jump into color settings in a while here. Okay, this button here is to create wires. So you can just click, 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 and lay it down like you want to. Second one here is a ground. You always need to place one ground in your schematic, especially if you're doing a simulation. This tells the simulator where you select the 0 point to be. Okay, labeling nets. You can label something and say this is connected to the power source. You can just label it, label, 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 and all the labels with the same name will be connected. So if you have wires traveling all across the schematic, or have different power sources, you can just give them names. This will simplify your life a bit. Okay, next one, resistors, capacitors, inductors, diodes. This is only the basic model. And yes, you can just right click on the L. Let's make this one micro, this 10K, make this 10 nanos. And for megs, you need to type out meg. Just a side note, not M. If you use M, it will make it a milli. See, I made it a capital M, but it made it 1 milli here. Okay, so just be careful of that. You need to type out meg whenever you need to do a meg. Right. So yeah, diodes. If you right click on this, you can say pick new diode, and there is a whole list of diodes, and for this model you can pick anything: Zener, Schottky, silicon. Just find the part number, click it and select it, and there you go. Okay. Here is the components. If you click on that, there is a whole list of stuff. I will go into that in a while. The move tools, if you need to move a component somewhere, you need to use the move tool, and you can undo, you can redo these buttons. Control Z does not work for this. Control Z brings up the zoom tool. Okay, and then these two is to rotate and flip components. So let's have this diode here, and we can rotate it, and then we can flip it, and there we go. So yeah, this is the basic interface. Here, if you need to place any text or any spice commands. Right, next to show you, I've set up a small schematic, placed the ground, set up a simulation, 10 volt source, two 2.5 kilo ohm resistors and a 5 kilo ohm resistor, just to show you what the software looks like after you set it up. We will jump into this component button here in a moment, and the simulation types in another video. So you can see all of the schematics is kind of a bluish color, and the background is a gray color. If I go and select these nodes after I've run a simulation, you will see that the voltages at these different nodes will appear. We quickly go ahead and run the simulation again, so it gives us a time-based output. So if we click these, it will show all the different voltage levels, so 5 volts, 7.5, and 10. So 3 nodes that I selected. And in the simulation, you can see that this has a black background. Not very nice for printing purposes and whatnot. So what I want to get to is we can change the colors and the feel of our interface. Most people actually want to do that, so we can go over to the control panel here, select it, and there is various things that going on in here. The one that you will most likely be interested in is drafting options and this waveforms. So you can check out the rest, but I will recommend not messing around too much in here. In here you will find that there is different settings showing dots, and where to the connections will jump if you just wire. But you can go and take a look at that. You can even set the text size in here, make it smaller. You can make it that it's not bold, to give yourself a nice look. The bold is sometimes a bit overpowering. Can even set the font that you want. Okay, anyways, the color schemes. You need to go into this screen right here, and you can select on this what you want to see. Some of the components like chips will have a yellow background, so if you don't want it to be yellow, make it white. You can just set all of these to 255. The background, I'm not a big fan of the gray. It also makes it hard if you're copying and pasting and stuff for reports and stuff. You can make that white. And there's this text color here. or when you're selecting component, you can make that black. You can make the interface black. All the nodes, the texts, the unconnected pins, and over the grid you can just switch off, but you can change the color of the grid, and there is everything now in a uniform color. Great. Okay. Great. And there is everything set on here. Now for the waveforms, you can just go to color scheme. You can also jump in this between the different places. And the thing that I usually want to change is just the background. And make that white. And you'll find that the text is a bit of a dull color. Oh, wrong way, my bad. And there we go. There's everything set up nicely. And you can even change the colors of these selected things. Every time that you open a new signal on the simulation, this will be the order in which you open. First green, then blue, then red, then this funny green, then pink. You can go and set each and every one of these traces at a different color if you want. And yep, that is it. That is kind of the settings that you want to play around with and to fix your interface for yourself. Next, I've gone and plotted ourselves a sinusoid, and you'll see that we have data on the sides, and this plot trace is very thin. So if we go in here and go to waveforms, we can make our trace width a bit thicker if you want. It's also nice when you need to project or if you're printing and want your data to really show. So yeah, that is the one. You can also set the font in here. It's typical Arial. Great stuff. Next, if you right click, if you zoomed in, you can just say zoom to fit and your whole schematic or your whole plot will be showed again. If you right click and go to view, and you can add a grid. Now you can easily trace on here. This is all just plain visual settings. You can draw, so if you have a point of interest, you can put the arrow. Not happy with arrow style, you can go to line styles, select different ones. You can select the color for the line that you want to draw. And say draw again. And there it is. Right. So if you want to highlight a specific area, if you want to add text, you can do that. You can move some of these stuff that you just added. Not happy with a placement. You can duplicate them, you can remove them. And that is most of the settings that you will be interested in. Also, in here you can do a FFT function, or you can mark data points on here. You can also copy this as a bitmap to the clipboard, so you don't have to do a print screen, and it will take away all of the stuff on the sides. So yes, that is all the settings that we have visually for our plot. We will go more into the other functions when we're actually busy with the simulation things. Right. So as you see from the previous examples and whatnot, there is a lot of settings that you can jump and play around with. It is, however, not necessary to do that. But if you can change the background of various things and set up the software like you feel comfortable with using it, go right ahead and do that. And like any software, it is always nice to play around with it. You will find features and things that you will not necessarily see in videos. Um, and the best way to learn software is just to play. If you bugger it up, uninstall, reinstall, plain and simple. That's the worst that could happen. Other than that, you can always email me if you have issues, or use the discussion board on my Twitter. Anyways, most of the stuff that's on these hotbars is also in the tabs up here. So if you don't know what something does, just go ahead and click on it and let's see what it does. There's a lot of things um, that you can do uh, while making this. There is a lot of stuff that I found that was not in the earlier versions of LTSpice. So for me, even when a new version comes out or there's a new update, I find new things um, that was never there. So there's always new stuff after update. Anyways, so we've covered the control panel. There is things around in there that you won't or shouldn't mess around with. And if you don't understand what the setting does, and it's about something like tolerances or whatnot, just leave it alone. And if you're playing around with it, there is always a reset to default values. So no big need to worry too much. So yeah, go ahead and play.